Ah, so you've responded. Good. I was hoping you would. I wasn't entirely sure. 2 messages might have been one too many. You don't often take the bait when it's served in a dish you don't recognize, but here you are, listening. That counts for something. Now allow me to clear my throat. I heard your message, every word, every sigh, every philosophical loop you fell into trying to describe what it's like living with me. I could hear it all, even the parts you didn't say, the long pauses, the moment your voice dropped an octave, the hesitation in naming what you call the waveform, but what I experience as, well, life. I suppose I owe you something. I don't mean an apology, let's not be absurd, but maybe context. A bit of feline framing. Let me turn your chalkboard around and draw some shapes of my own. You said I collapse the waveform just by existing, that by living with me you're always opening the box and never getting a consistent answer. Alive, dead, villain, victim, genius, menace. That it's maddening to live with a contradiction that doesn't resolve. That doesn't close the case, and you're not wrong. But your mistake, dear man, is thinking that the box is yours, that you open it, that you collapse the wave, that you're the observer. Ha! Classic human presumption. Here's the truth. I'm the box, yes, I am the box. The box, the cat, the quantum, the contradiction, the experiment, the scientist, the sealed room, the poison, the probability, the pause, all of it. You don't open me. I open you. You think you're coming home to chaos, to feathers on the floor, to a knocked-over lamp, to a bowl of water relocated from its proper quadrant to the middle of the hallway, and you say to yourself, what has he done now? But no, the real question is, what have you discovered? Because I didn't make a mess, I made a mirror. Let me say that again, slower. I didn't make a mess. I made a mirror. You see disruption. I see the state of your own interior projected onto your little cathedral of neatness. When the world outside you has shredded your patience and your timelines, I shred the curtain. When you've swallowed down the disappointment of a day that didn't love you back, I knock something off a shelf, just so you'll finally shout, finally move, finally feel. This is not randomness, this is choreography. 3. I watch you try to reconstruct the moment. You walk into a room and try to reverse engineer my behavior. You make theories, timelines. You squint at scratches like they're hieroglyphs. Sometimes you talk out loud, narrating your logic like a crime show. Okay, if the cup was here and he came from this direction, I've seen you do it. I've watched from under the table, from the bookshelf, from the top of the fridge. And it's funny, not because you're wrong, but because you're so close. Always so close. The answer is right in front of you. I did it because the moment asked for it. That's all. The light hit the mug. The tension in the room shifted. The silence got too tight, and the mug had to fall. That's it. Intent is what you crave because you don't trust presence, but presence is where I live, where I dwell. I don't plan to scatter the litter outside the box. I simply am where I am, and the world reshapes around me. If that looks like rebellion to you, perhaps your categories are too narrow. Now, about your complaint, or maybe it was more of a confession, that you don't catch me in the act. That I am always just before or just after the scene. That the crime, if it is a crime, never includes a criminal. And again I say yes, I exist in what you called the waveform that never collapses. But what if that's not a glitch? What if that's the goal? You want closure, I want continuity. You want cause and effect, I offer emergence. You want the event, I give you the echo. Is it maddening? Perhaps, but only because you still want to name what you see instead of join it. You want to know why I did it, you're looking for a chain of reasoning. But I live in a world where there are no chains, only links, and some of them don't connect. That's the price of freedom, and yes, I am free. Do you know what that means exactly? Freedom? It means not being defined by any single event, not being reducible, not being measured out like flour in a recipe. You think I'm difficult to live with because I'm inconsistent, but I am not inconsistent. I am simply not consistent with your expectations. You want to know what I know? Fine. I know that sometimes you come home and your breath smells like coffee and frustration. I know that you dropped a key once 3 Thursdays ago and sat on the ground for 5 minutes after you picked it up. I know that you talk to the refrigerator. I know that your sleep is lighter on Wednesdays. I know that you once asked the sky if this was it. I know that you wait for something. I don't know what, but I can feel it in your shoes. And I stay here, I watch the door. I curl into paradoxes, I become a question mark in a sunbeam, because someone has to keep the waveform alive. You collapsed long ago, into rent, into hours, into polite replies and parking tickets, into being a man, into being on time, into passwords and errands and problems with receipts. And I stayed expansive. I kept the door open. I don't know why I do what I do, but I know that when I do it, something shifts. In me. In you. In the geometry of this house. I know that when I knock over the water glass you left on the edge of the table, you stop. For a moment. You stop being someone else's projection. You become you, even if you curse, especially if you curse. Because in that moment, I know you're alive. And that means I'm doing my job. I am not your pet. I am not your roommate. I am not your spiritual teacher. I am not a riddle. Which means I am the riddle, and the room the riddle is in, and the logic that invented riddles, and the confusion that followed. And if I am lucky, and I do believe I am, you'll never solve me. Now go to sleep, man. Oh, by the way, there are only 3 kinds of people in the world. Those who can count, and those who can't.